Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. You know, if you go back to 1919, 100 years ago, the presence of African Americans in higher education was negligible. Essentially, historians have the number somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 African American students enrolled in all of higher education. Most of those students were being educated at historically black colleges and universities, and so the number who would have been at a University of Maryland, a predominantly white campus, would have been pretty much non-existent. But if you fast forward to today, we have an awful lot to be proud of. The Department of Education has the enrollment number at 2.5 million African American students enrolled in higher education. That is a tremendous number relative to where we've been in the last 100 years. And in fact, those students are at all types of colleges and universities in the country, not only historically black colleges and predominantly white, publics, private, two-year, et cetera. And the access that we've had to higher education has meant that not only have individuals benefited, but so have communities and so has our nation in advancing the kind of intellectual human capital that has benefited us all. You can see it everywhere in our society, in every industry, in every area, including at the highest levels of leadership of the nation and the world, as we offered and had a first black president. So for sure, there's a lot to be excited about and a lot to celebrate. But even with all of those advancements, what I want to suggest to you this evening is that we still have a long way to go. And this is best exhibited in a recent report that was published by the American Council on Education, actually just this year in the fall of 2019, in which they looked at the status of race and ethnicity in higher education. And in that report, while there's lots of progress that was identified, it summarized the essence of black higher education thusly. Take a moment and look at this. Too many black students fare poorly in America's post-secondary education system at both the undergraduate and the graduate level. The advances of black students' enrollment and attainment have been accompanied by some of the lowest persistence rates, the highest undergraduate dropout rates, highest borrowing rates, and the largest debt burdens of any group. For the first time, we actually, as an African American community, were the only group that is on the margins in all of those areas. So while we have made tremendous progress, and we have a lot to celebrate, not only in our college's 100-year and in the nation's progress, there's a lot of work for us to do. My own work has focused on examining the experiences of African American students in higher education for 2.5 decades. And I've particularly taken an aim at understanding the work of high-achieving African American students. And let me tell you why. So much of the narrative and research on black students was from a deficit approach, basically assuming that these students were academically not as talented, could not make it in the academy. And so part of what I wanted to do in my own work is to really even out the bookends and the narrative of intellectual inquiry to say we are talking about a group of students who are entering the academy with high board scores, having come from very competitive academic programs, who might be second and even third generation college educated. Now, we know that's not the story for all students, but we've heard so much of the other end that I was very interested in positioning this group of students to say, we're bringing in very capable students, but what's happening with them in the process of being in our educational systems? Let me share with you 4 quick themes that have emerged out of my work. One is that faculty matter significantly in the success of students. Teachers, faculty matter significantly. And here's why, because my work is centered on African American students in STEM fields, non-traditional fields oftentimes for African Americans. And in the STEM field, the role of the professor, particularly in engaging with a young scientist, is in helping him or her to understand the acquisition of skills that are actually skills that you need to do science research. And so that work with a professor matters in the ability of a professor to fortify relationships and help that student make those connections. And what we know in our scholarship is that those relationships aren't always easy to develop. And in fact, African American students in STEM fields struggle with finding faculty who really are investing in their education. But when they do it and they do it well, it matters. And it's also important in STEM fields that we diversify the professoriate so that students have a range of faculty that they're working with. But having said that, because it takes a while to get a diverse faculty, you don't have to be the same racial background and even the same gender or any other factor to affirm a student and to work well with a student. You have to care about their education and understand that you're preparing them for our society. Number two, a theme that shows up very strong in our work is the academic proving process. Everybody in this room has had to prove their capability, whatever your areas are. Students, faculty, staff, parents, boards of regents, everyone in this room understands the notion of proving oneself. But what I've heard consistently in the students that we've studied is that they have to continually repeat this proving process, even once they've already demonstrated that they have the capacity to do the work. And that takes away from the kind of intellectual energy they could be using towards advancing themselves. They're taking that kind of energy and redirecting it, trying to prove that, yes, I still belong in the program, I still belong in the major. So that academic proving process wears down the capability of students. Number three is our campus climate. You know, this has been said several times this evening, but we're in a larger context in which things have shifted in ways that there's a resurgence of energy around kind of divide and hate. And our campuses are feeling some of that. And it isn't so much that it's pervasive in every part of our campus. Surprisingly, it shows up still even in the classroom from peer-to-peer interactions, as well as the overall engagement. So we have to take that seriously. We have to be thoughtful about that and understand that our students are coming to a campus where we all are a part of making that a productive environment for them to work at and to hit the best part of their experiences academically. And then the last theme that I want to share with you is the notion that our Black students are much more diverse than we ever think about them being. We tend to think about Black students in a very monolithic way, and a lot of the high-achieving students I've studied in STEM fields identify in various ways in their sense of being Black. Black American, African, Caribbean, Afro-biracial, and even the ways in which their gender identity, their sexuality intersects, they're challenging us more in ways that are differently than perhaps we've been used to seeing. And all four of these themes become critical, as well as many others, in understanding as we move forward how we're successful in working with this group of students. You know, there's been tremendous progress, there's been tremendous ways in which we have definitely, as a society and as a college, advanced the needs of our students, and I think we have a lot, again, to be proud of. I want to leave you with something that I think reflects in many ways the ways in which I think we have to start thinking about our work in the next 100 years of our students, and it comes from nature. And it comes from a very simple thing that we all experience every day. If you've ever heard a bird singing, it's not singing because it has an answer for you, it's singing because it has a song for you. And what we have to understand is our students have their own songs, and sometimes when we're in the classroom, we're only looking at what they answer, but not what they're capable of in their song. So I encourage you, as we're doing the work that we do, not only as faculty, as peers with each other, but also as educators and as parents, what's the song that our students are bringing to us? Thank you so much.